I was a soldier with 10th Mountain Division when this happened. To give you some background, I am from New York City and joined the Army to see the world. But I ended up not seeing anything except HESCO barriers and T-walls. I joined the Army in 2016, after basic training at Fort Benning. I was given a choice of Fort Drum or Fort Polk. Well, hell, I thought, Fort Drum is in New York, so that's no-brainer. Only if they would have told me it's more in Canada than it is in New York. Anyways, I ended up in 10th Mountain Division, 2nd Brigade or Commandos, at least that's we called ourselves. I spent some time doing usual garrison stuff, sweeping sidewalks, mowing grass and cleaning my weapon over and over again after a range. We got pure dep ord or deployment order about 8 months before we had to head out to Syria. We spent some time training in the woods of upstate New York, and then we departed to Fort Polk, Louisiana, Joint Readiness Training Center, where we spent 30 days battling simulated enemy, just another U.S. unit that pretends to be an enemy. We called them Geronimos or G-Man. After we got back from Louisiana, we started deployment preparations, packing up our gear and shipping it all out in the containers to Kuwait, getting our vehicles loaded onto railhead to get them down to the port. I went home to NYC a few times before I deployed. I was little jealous of people that get to stay back. They get to tear up lower Manhattan, and I get to stay at Fort Drum, surrounded by mountains of snow. But it's okay, that was my choice to volunteer and join the Army. We boarded a plane at Army Airfield on Fort Drum, and flew to Ramstein, Germany, where we spent another day waiting for plane to get fixed. We then flew to Kuwait City Airport. We were picked up by buses and taken to a place called Camp Buring. We spent about a week at Camp Buring, before we departed for Syria. We were going to a very remote place. I'm not going to reveal the name of a FOB that I was on, but let's just say it was awfully close to Syrians and Russians. We could practically see them across the river. Occasionally we would get rocket fire from Iranian militias. The task force would respond with some airstrikes, calming things down for a while. That kind of went on for about 2 months. I remember sitting in on a briefing that went over our area of operations. The intelligence officer that was briefing us seems very knowledgeable and involved in the subject. He kept talking about deteriorating situation in Badia Desert. For those of you don't know, but Badia Desert, as we call it, White Desert, he's a large chunk of Syria. It stretches from city of Palmyra to Euphrates River. It's vast and largely uninhabited. For decades it's been ruled by tribes. Most of those tribes were not friendly to any foreigners, even if they were Syrians. Naturally, it became a great habitat for ISIS. They were hiding among stripesmen, occasionally harassing Russians and Syrians traveling through the area, setting up ambushes and carrying out raids on Syrian outposts in the area. It was a fucking Wild West. Nobody really controlled the area. Russian and Syrian convoys would just quickly zoom through the desert to make it to the Deir Easy Zor, or as we call the Daz. All of that was really interesting, but we weren't even allowed to leave the FOB. Only special operations units were able to roam around accompany and Kurds and fighting bad guys. We were not there for that. Only thing we had left to do is guard the FOB, dodge incoming rockets, and which horrible movies. We're quickly getting bored, and finally we were given an opportunity to go out. Guess where we're going out to? That's right, White Desert. We can never have nice things. The mission was rather simple. We were in support of a raid into White Desert, killer capture some bad guy that lived in a very remote village. The village was so remote and unexplored, even Google Earth images of the area made it look like foot of a modern human being did not step there since Roman times. There wasn't even a road to that village, but we did see a bunch of tracks from Toyota Hiluxes used by ISIS. The mission preparations were very long. We kept rehearsing until we got our actions and objective just perfect. It seemed very redundant. Our command wanted to look good in the front of their boss as well as special operations guys we were supporting. Pretty standard practice in the United States Army, dog and pony show all the way. The mission was pretty simple. Get him a Chinook, fly over to that village, set up some blocking positions, and let soft guys do their job. That's as simple as it gets. Finally, before about a day or two away from the D-Day, this was a big deal for all of us, because most of us did not have a real combat experience. This was going to be a Super Bowl for most of us. The start time for the mission was midnight. We were to grab our gear, 72 hours worth of stuff in our assault packs, and wait at the airfield for Chinooks to arrive from Iraq. They were then to pick us up, buy around the DAS to avoid Syrian air defense, in and execute the raid. Sounds simple, doesn't it? Well, things are never simple, not during the war at least. Right away, only 2 Chinook helicopters flew in. I had to cut our force and a half because other 2 Chinooks broke down. That's not a good start. I've been more problems started, should be precise. The pilot couldn't find objective. You just kept flying around alerting all the bad guys in the area that were coming. Finally, we're able to find the target village and get out of that God-forsaken and helicopter. My squad dismounted the Chinook and quickly rushed to our identified blocking position. I was a squad-designated marksman. I took up my position with my sniper rifle that I borrowed from sniper section for this mission, and set up my observation post for OP. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning. We knew that bad guys would not take us this early because they didn't have night vision, and we did. Besides, there was an armed MQ-9 circle around our heads waiting to smoke some bad guys if needed. We kept waiting for the soft guys to land and do their thing, but they never flew up. Things started to become more and more fucked up. We just sat there waiting for them until sunrise, but they never showed up. At about 6 o'clock in the morning, to pick up trucks with heavy machine guns on them began to approach us. I started to engage them. They were too far away. They knew what they were doing. They stopped just short of maximum effective range of a sniper rifle and began spraying us with their heavy machine gun. The MQ-9 spotted them a while ago, but for some reason the pilot was not engaging. Later it turned out, they were waiting for us to give them clearance to fire, after we positively identified the target. What a load of bullshit that was. Anyway, luckily we had some javelins with us, just 3 rounds, but it was enough. We shot one, missed the technical, second one landed just on target, scaring the other one away. At this point we're all waiting to get extracted, but since there was presence hostiles in the area, the brigade commander would not approve. She looks to fly over there and possibly get blown up out of the sky. That was somewhat understandable, but what the fuck did they expect us to do? We spent all day sitting there, until the nightfall. We were rotating through security throughout night. My shift fell on 3 o'clock in the morning. I woke up, put my helmet on, grabbed my rifle, and went to my observation post. It was really dark, almost no moonlight. I spotted something in the air moving very strangely. First I thought it was aircraft, you know, that MQ-9 that was supposed to cover us but didn't. But then more I looked at it, more I saw that it wasn't that. It was making abrupt movements that no aircraft would be able to make. I watched it for about 30 minutes. I didn't tell anybody, because what can we possibly do about it? So I just kept looking. The lights seemed to remain in generally same area, despite the abrupt movements. I almost wanted to stay up and see what they look like in daylight. Fuck. Thank God I didn't. I was relieved from my guard post at 0400, just to awaken about an hour and a half later, with a very strange sound. Sounded kind of like a jet flying over your head, but sound was very strange, was almost like screeching metal mixed with jet noises. As I got up I saw my squad waking up at the sky, talking to each other. Dude, do you see that? What the fuck is that thing? It looks like an upside down pyramid. When I looked up, no shit, it did look like an upside down flying pyramid. I never believed in aliens, so I tried to professionalize it to myself, thinking it was some super duper secret aircraft deployed by Uncle Sam to support us. Turns out it wasn't. Pyramids moved intelligently, like they were watching us. They were fast as fuck. No conventional aircraft would be able to match its speed or movements. 2 pyramids just kept circling around or blocking position. It's almost like they were playing with us or seeing what we're going to do. Unfortunately, United States Army is full of some gun motherfuckers. One of the gunners decided it was a good idea to get his 240 Bravo and engage flying pyramids with it, hoping to shoot one down. Stupid, you say? I'd say yes too. He picked up his 240 and let off a few rounds. He missed the pyramids, of course, but then both of them stopped. My heart dropped to the ground at that point. I knew he fucked up, but nothing I could do about it. One of the pyramids shot what looked like a laser at him, evaporating him completely, turning him into dust in a split second. We all froze in awe. If we just get attacked by aliens? He sure did. At that point our squad leader began to yell to put the weapons down and take off the helmets, hoping it would de-escalate our little interplanetary conflict. That didn't work. He suffered the same fate as our 240 gunner. At that point we'll just started the run. Only thing is, what the fuck are you going to run to, in the middle of white desert full of ISIS? Take my chances? Me and 3 more soldiers ran to the nearest wadi. We jumped into it, and waited about 20 minutes, hoping the flying pyramids will go away, but they didn't. They just kept floating around us. Quickly became hopeless. Can you do about it? We decided that if we show no hostility towards it, maybe it will just let us go. I volunteered to be a test rabbit for that. I got out of water. I slung my sniper rifle on my back and raised both of my hands up. I finally got to take a good look at the flying pyramids. They were solid black with no signs of being piloted by anybody. Well, if it's my time, then it is my time, I thought. I just kept on walking towards our old blocking position with my hands up. I was trying not to look at the pyramids anymore, however. I was expecting to get smoked at any second now, but as I kept walking, nothing happened. I made it to our old blocking position just to find that there's nobody there. It was safe to assume that they all died. I turned around and I began walking back to Wadi where rest of us were. I kept walking and pyramids were following me, circle around, getting higher and getting lower. It's like they were trying to get a good look at me. I hope they did. I went back to the Wadi and told everyone that for everyone else died. There was no time to drop a tear for them, as we were about to join them, or at least we thought we were. We sat there through the entire night. Every single one of us was awake when we heard helicopters coming. Holy fuck, I thought. What if these things are still in the air? They're going to blow the helicopter right out of the sky. I looked up, but I didn't see him anymore. I alerted everybody else, and orient towards the helicopter sound. We were waving our hands in the air trying to get pilot's attention, and we finally did. We landed his Black Hawk, and we were able to run into it and get the fuck out of Dodge. When we got back, we were all debriefed, until not to talk about this ever again. Whatever those things were, the government and the United States military did not want for anybody to know about it. It's almost like they knew what they were. And to this day I still believe that the whole thing was a setup. They were just trying to see what these aliens are going to do when facing people. We just happened to be a test subject. But that's not what we're being told. We were told that we might have experienced some kind of illusion caused by a toxic gas that is in the air in that area, the desert. What a load of bullshit, I thought. Later I looked up what those things were. I think they were called Varmanas. There were some sightings of them in Afghanistan too, but not with such a tragic outcome. The disappearance of the soldiers was explained by a helicopter crash, which we all knew was a lie. I'm hoping that eventually the truth will come out. With all these congressional hearings about aliens, maybe one day our story will come out too. I am a helicopter mechanic stationed at Joint Base Lewis McChord. My story is not about action and encountering supernatural beings while shooting bad guys in the face, if that's what you are here for. I was a single E4 specialist living in the barracks. I enjoyed my job working at Gray Army Airfield fixing Apache helicopters. I love those things, and I love working on them. My days were usually pretty busy. Inpul'd wake up around 0545 to get ready for PT at 0630. After PT or physical training, I would head over to IDFAC to grab some food before heading over to the airfield. I had a beat-up Honda Civic 1993 that took me around base and Seattle on the weekends. I always loved Seattle, especially going there on the weekends. When you get there early enough in the morning, you can stand on Capitol Hill watching mist rolling in. It's quite a sight. Most of the time my unit was in garrison. We would rarely go to the field, which was great. My friends from infantry brigades were pretty much never around, as they spent months at the time either in Yakima or in the training area of the back gate of JBLM. My barracks were located on the north side of the airfield, pretty close to 2nd Ranger Battalion barracks. Those guys were always gone, man. I always saw them training, day and night. One weekend my buddy and I decided to hang out in Seattle for a weekend. We reserved the hotel room and we were planning on clubbing for 2 nights, see if we can find ourselves some new girlfriends. We were in luck that weekend, at least we thought we were. The hotel we reserved was right in downtown Seattle. It better be for $350 a night. We both spent good part of our paycheck on it. Anyway, we did not have to drive anywhere because all of the coolest clubs were walking distance. We partied the entire first night, and we both were quickly running out of money as we were sparing no expense on alcohol. The second night both of us broke. E3s were down to about $15, with no new girlfriends in sight. As we ran out of money, we decided to walk to the hotel room to end weekend. We planned on getting up, getting free hotel breakfast, and heading back to JBLM. The walk back to hotel was a bit long, and we had to pass an area full of homeless people. We were trying not to look at any of them as we're walking. Suddenly, some old lady decided to ask us for some money. Oh, let me tell you about my buddy Josh. Let's just say when he got drunk he was a total dick, which contributed to us not hooking up with anybody that weekend. At this point of time Josh was intoxicated enough, and a strong Republican was coming out of him drunker he got. So he had no love for homeless people, to say the least. She asked him, "Son, could you spare some change please? I haven't had anything to eat in days." Lady did look like she could use some food. Her hair looked like it wasn't washed in decades. Her eyes were bloodshot. Her cloth looked like she was recently attacked by a bear. She also had a strong Eastern European accent. Josh looked at her in disgust. I could already tell the conversation isn't going to go down well. Josh looked at her and said, "Why would I give you my hard-earned money? So you can go buy some crack?" "I don't think so, bitch." I laughed inside because neither me nor him actually had any money left. If I had some spare change I would have given it to her, but we were all wiped out. "Hey, Josh, chill, she is just some homeless crazy lady," I told him. I could see Lady's face change. It turned angry and ominous at the same time. "All of you young guys have no respect for elders anymore," she said in broken English. After that she started speaking some language I never heard before, but all I could hear was. I didn't think anything of it and Josh and I just kept walking. She suddenly stood up and said, "You will pay for this, and so will your children, and to her grandchildren," and then she continued something in her language again. Josh started laughing, calling her crazy bitch as we were walking away. It was 3 a.m. by the time we got to the hotel room. We both were exhausted from all of the alcohol and club lights, so we just crashed in our beds. I had a super weird dream that night. In the dream I woke up and got up from the bed, and I decided to wake up Josh, but when I shook the figure under the blanket, the crazy homeless lady rolled on her back and began laughing so loud it made me pass out. I woke in cold sweat. I took a shower and went down to eat breakfast. Sun was already out. I grabbed my plate with eggs and sausage, and sat down. When I looked up my heart dropped. I saw the same crazy homeless lady staring right at me with an ominous smile. She was sitting in the table and eating in the most disgusting manner, drooling over her food while smiling and staring right at me. I woke up again. "What the fuck?" I screamed out loud. That woke up Josh. He also looked like he hasn't slept in days. "Dude, did you also have some weird dream with that crazy lady?" "Fuck yeah, I did. What the fuck, man? I never had any dreams this vivid." "I don't, man, but I think we should go apologize to that lady from last night." Non-intoxicated version of Josh agreed with me. We quickly got up and checked out of the hotel and drove down to where we saw her last night. But she wasn't there. Josh and I found parking and we both walked over to where she was last night. There was a homeless guy sitting against the wall smoking a cigar. "Who are you looking for?" he asked. "There was a lady here last night. She was like Russian or something. Where does she stay?" Oh, you are looking for Mila. She wasn't Russian, she was Romanian, and you are too late. She died last night. Both Josh and I froze in disbelief. Yay man, cops came and ambulance and shit. She ended up having a heart attack after someone was talking shit to her last night. You know how people are nowadays, man. Everybody just acts like we want to be homeless. None of us want to be here, man. It's just life happens, you know. The man kept rambling on about something we weren't listening to. We both felt guilty as hell for this, and feeling of dread and guilt made us both quiet the whole ride back to JBLM. When we got back in base on Sunday afternoon, Josh immediately grabbed the last beer out of the fridge and began talking. Man, how in the fuck am I supposed to know that she was gonna die? You know, why do I feel bad? This shit ain't my fault. I didn't make her homeless. You didn't have to be a dick either, dude. Josh looked at me with a bit of a rage, but he stopped himself from blowing and stormed out of the room. He went down to a smoking area right outside of the barracks. I followed him shortly after to bum a smoke of someone. Josh was out loud talking about what happened to us on Saturday night with our company medic. They both started laughing really loud. I thought to myself, damn, he doesn't feel bad at all. It was getting dark and I wanted to rack out, because I had to wake up at 0500 for a PT test. I didn't have any vivid dreams this time, but it was something else. I woke up paralyzed, I couldn't move at all. I used to have sleep awakenings before, but nothing like this. As I was laying there unable to move, with a corner of my eye, I spotted a dark figure standing to the right of me. I shared my room with some specialist that just got here from Germany. He was a flight medic and mostly worked night shift, so he wasn't there tonight. The figure I spotted didn't move, it was just standing there very still. After about 10 seconds of me noticing the dark figure, I heard growling outside of my door and sound of nails scratching the door. I was terrified and my heart was about to jump out of my chest. I remembered from the time I had sleep awakenings, what worked for me was to attempt to quickly jerk my head to the side. I did just that, but I still couldn't wake up. I kept doing it until I finally was able to wake up. When I woke up, I didn't want to go back to bed. I grabbed my last cigar and went downstairs. When I got down to the smoking area, I saw Josh sitting there as well. "What's up, dude?" he said with an exhausted look on his face. "Keep having nightmares, man," Josh replied. "Me too. I don't want to go back to sleep at all. Fuck that." He put away his cigar and looked at me. "I think I'll go watch a movie or something. Hopefully I won't see any more nightmares." This was super weird that both of us kept having nightmares at the same time. It was 0230, and I was getting more and more tired. I went back to sleep. A loud knock on the door woke me up. It was my squad leader, Sergeant Dawson. "Wake up, dickhead, you were late for the PT test," he yelled. I looked at the clock, it was 0630. Fuck, I thought, great, now I'm in trouble. Sergeant Dawson told me to come see Platoon Sergeant after PT is done. I went through my usual routine and went downstairs to where our platoon office. I saw Josh standing there. "Why are you here?" I replied. "I missed PT test, couldn't sleep for shit." Platoon Sergeant was not happy about both of us missing the PT test, and if we're late one more time he would recommend punishment under UCMJ, or also known as Uniformed Code of Military Justice. Josh and I crossed eyes as we were leaving the office. His eyes looked exhausted, like he hasn't slept in days. The following week, nothing weird happened to me, but I did notice that Josh was quickly deteriorating. He kept missing formations, and was not even taking showers or getting a haircut. About 2 weeks later I finally go to sit down with him at the VAC. He wasn't even eating, he was just staring at his plate, and anxiously looking around. "Dude, are you okay?" I asked him. "No man," he replied. Tears started to roll down his eyes. "I see her, man. She is following me, man." He started whipping. "She is everywhere, in my room, at maintenance bay. She is there behind me in formation." He kept crying. Damn, I thought to myself, he is really fucked up. I decided to help him. Bro, let's go to talk to Chaplain, maybe he can help. He wasn't even listening to me. He looked at me and then looked behind me, and he started crying even more. She is right behind you, man, he said. I turned around and looked behind me. There was no one there, of course. Dude, there is no one here, I told him. He started crying even harder. It's all in your head, man, you need help. I got up, grabbed his wrist. Let's go to Madigan, man, they will help you there. Madigan is a JBLM medical center. Fuck no, man, they can't help me, man, they can't help me, he continued. At this point, other soldiers started to notice Josh's state. Out of nowhere, our chaplain's assistant came up to us and was asking if we need help. I told him that he needed to see someone. We both picked him up and walked him to my car. We took him straight to the chapel, where he was able to see our battalion chaplain. Josh walked out of his office not looking any better at all. Chaplain walked out with a worrisome face and told both of us that he will take him to mental health clinic right now. He put Josh in the car and drove away. I was worried about him, and also a bit worried for myself. What if it comes back? I decided that it might be a good idea to see someone other than army doctors. I googled psychics and found one in Tacoma. She charged me $200 to hear what I had to say. The lady was attentive and was carefully listening to everything I was saying. At the end she said, "Honey, your friend has a very strong curse on him. I don't know about you, but I would watch things around you and come back to me if things start to happen again." I took her advice, but I felt horrible about not being able to help Josh. He spent a week at Madigan and was released. With few hours he disappeared. Company command wrote him off as AWOL, until his body was found hanging from the tree in a training area 4, right outside of East Gate of JBLM. I was later told by an MP I knew that it looked like he did it as soon as he was released from Madigan. Nothing happened to me since then, but if it does, I can only hope I won't suffer the same fate as him.